The morning I found my name on a restraining order, I thought someone had made a terrible mistake. Then I read the reason. Repeatedly threatening and harassing a family member. I had never threatened anyone in my life. But the person who filed it was my own younger brother. And 3 hours later, I discovered he had also emptied our mother's house, canceled her retirement party, and told everyone in our family that I was trying to have her declared incompetent. The strangest part? My mother believed him. At least that's what I thought. Until she quietly slipped a key into my hand and whispered, "Don't let him find this. My name is Olivia Parker." And what happened next completely changed the way I understood my family. I was 36 years old when all of this happened. I lived about 40 minutes from my mother, Diane, in a small town in Ohio. My younger brother, Marcus, lived with Mom. After Dad died 7 years earlier, Marcus moved back home. At first, everyone thought it was wonderful. He was helping Mom. He repaired things around the house. He took her to appointments. He handled the yard. He cooked dinner. And whenever I called Mom, she would say, "Your brother is such a blessing." I was happy for her. I really was. I didn't live with her, but I visited almost every weekend. I brought groceries. I helped with bills. I took Mom shopping. But Marcus was always there. And slowly I noticed something strange. Mom stopped making decisions without asking him. "What do you want for dinner?" I'd ask. "Whatever Marcus thinks is best." "Do you want to go to the lake this weekend?" "I'll have to ask Marcus." "Should we replace that old washing machine?" "Marcus says we don't need one." At first I thought it was normal. Then one day Mom called me and said, "Olivia, can you help me find my checkbook?" "Sure." "I think Marcus moved it." "Why?" "I don't know." I asked Marcus. He immediately became defensive. "Why are you questioning me?" "I'm not." Mom asked me. "She forgets things." "Then maybe you should tell her where you put it." He stared at me. "I keep everything organized." That was the first time I realized something had changed between us. Marcus wasn't simply helping Mom anymore. He was controlling everything. But I didn't know how serious it was. Not until Mom's 72nd birthday. I wanted to surprise her. I booked a little restaurant near the lake. I invited a few relatives. Mom had always loved birthdays. When I told Marcus, he said, "She can't go." I laughed. "Why?" "She gets tired. It's a 2-hour dinner." She said she doesn't want to. I called Mom. "Mom, do you want to go to dinner Saturday?" There was a long silence. Then she said, "I'd like to." I looked at Marcus. He was standing across the kitchen. His jaw tightened. That evening, he called me. "Don't put Mom in the middle." "What does that mean?" "You know what it means." "No, I don't." "You keep making plans without considering her condition." "She's 72, Marcus. She's not a child." He hung up. The birthday dinner happened. Mom was happy. She laughed more that night than I had seen her laugh in months. She told stories about Dad. She ate chocolate cake. She even danced with my uncle. On the way home, she held my hand. "Thank you." "For what?" "For reminding me I'm still me." I didn't understand what she meant. I should have asked. 2 weeks later, Mom called me at midnight. "Olivia?" Her voice sounded frightened. "What happened?" "Come here." "Mom, what's wrong?" "I can't explain over the phone." I drove there immediately. The house was dark. Mom opened the door. She was wearing a robe. "What happened?" She looked toward the hallway, then whispered, "Marcus took my car keys." "Why?" "He says I'm not allowed to drive anymore." I looked at her. "Did your doctor say that?" "No." "Then why?" "He says I got lost last week." "Did you?" Mom shook her head. "I missed one turn." I sat beside her. "Mom, maybe you should talk to your doctor." She nodded. Then she said something that worried me. "Marcus says I can't manage my money anymore." "What?" "He wants me to sign some papers." "What papers?" "I don't know." "Did you sign anything?" She shook her head. "No." I took her hand. "Don't sign anything until you understand it." She looked at me. "I was hoping you'd say that." The next morning, I called her doctor. He told me Mom had no diagnosis that prevented her from managing her own affairs. Her memory was normal for her age. She was perfectly capable of making decisions. I went back to the house. Marcus was furious when he saw me. "You called her doctor?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because Mom was worried." "You're making things worse." "How?" "You're filling her head with nonsense." I stared at him. "She told me you want her to sign something." He went silent. "What is it?" Nothing. Then show me. It's private. She's our mother. And you're not her guardian. That sentence bothered me. I looked at Mom. She was sitting quietly. Marcus walked into the kitchen. I think you should leave. I didn't. Instead, I asked Mom, do you want me to stay? She looked at me. Then she looked at Marcus. Finally, she whispered, yes. Marcus walked away. That night, I stayed with Mom. We talked for hours. She told me Marcus had started monitoring her phone. He had changed passwords. He had taken her credit cards. He had told her she couldn't give money to anyone. And he'd started keeping her mail in his room. I asked her why she hadn't told me. She started crying. Because I was afraid. Of Marcus? She nodded. Why? He says if I don't cooperate, he'll put me in a nursing home. I felt sick. Mom, he can't just do that. He says he can. He can't. But I wasn't entirely sure. The next morning, I asked Mom to come stay with me for a few days. She agreed. We packed a small bag. Before we left, Marcus came home. He saw the suitcase. What are you doing? Mom said, I'm going with Olivia. He laughed. No, you're not. Mom froze. I stepped between them. She is an adult. She doesn't understand what she's doing. Neither do you. His face changed. Get out of my house. I looked at him. This is Mom's house. He became quiet. Then he smiled. Not an angry smile. A strange, calm smile. Okay. That scared me more. Mom stayed with me for 3 days. Those 3 days were peaceful. She slept better. She watched old movies. We cooked together. She even laughed about the argument. Then on the 4th morning, there was a knock at my door. 2 police officers were standing outside. One of them said, Are you Olivia Parker? Yes. You need to come with us. My heart dropped. Why? He handed me a document. I read it. A temporary restraining order, filed by my brother. The allegation said I had been harassing him, threatening him, and attempting to remove our mother from her home against her will. I couldn't believe it. That's not true. The officer said, You'll need to address it in court. I looked at Mom. She was standing behind me. Her face was pale. I turned to her. Mom? She didn't answer. I thought she had chosen Marcus. That hurt more than anything. At the courthouse, I saw Marcus. He was sitting beside an attorney. He looked confident. My lawyer asked me, Did you threaten him? No. Did you force your mother to leave? No. Do you have evidence? I gave him the messages, the phone records, the doctor's statement, the photographs of Mom's medications, everything. But Marcus had prepared carefully. He had screenshots showing me repeatedly calling him. He had recordings of arguments. He had witnesses saying I was obsessed with taking care of Mom. The judge listened. Then something unexpected happened. Mom was called to speak. She walked into the courtroom. Marcus looked at her. Mom, tell the truth. Mom sat down. The judge asked, Do you believe your daughter is a danger to your son? Mom looked at me. Then she looked at Marcus. No. The room became silent. The judge asked, Did she threaten you? No. Did she force you to leave your home? No. Why did you leave? Mom took a deep breath. Because I was afraid of my son. Marcus stood. Mom! The judge stopped him. Sit down. Mom continued. He has been controlling my money. Marcus shook his head. He's taken my cards. He changed my passwords. He tells me who I can talk to. And he wants me to sign papers. The judge looked at Marcus. What papers? Marcus's attorney started speaking. But the judge interrupted. Mr. Parker, I asked you. Marcus didn't answer. The judge ordered a temporary investigation into Mom's finances. The restraining order against me was dismissed. But that wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. A financial investigator examined Mom's accounts. They found something strange. Over the previous 18 months, more than $48,000 had been withdrawn. Not for Mom's medical expenses. Not for groceries. Not for household repairs. The money had gone toward Marcus's credit cards, his car, his personal loans, and a vacation. I confronted him. Why? He said, I was taking care of Mom. You spent her retirement money on a vacation. I deserved something. You stole from her. He became angry. I've spent 2 years taking care of her. You were her son. You weren't there every day. I was there whenever she needed me. No, you weren't. He slammed his hand on the table. You gotta keep your life! I stared at him. What does that mean? You had your career. You had your apartment. You got married. You went on vacations. I gave everything up. I finally understood. Marcus wasn't only angry about money. He was angry about his life. He believed he had sacrificed everything for Mom. And somewhere along the way, he decided that sacrifice gave him ownership. He believed Mom owed him. But there was something else. Something much bigger. A week later, the investigator found a document. It was a handwritten agreement. Mom had supposedly signed it, giving Marcus ownership of the house. But the signature looked wrong. Very wrong. We sent it for examination. It was forged. Marcus had forged our mother's signature. When I found out, I couldn't speak. The house wasn't just a house. It was the home Dad had built. It was where my parents had raised us. It was where Mom had lived for 40 years. Marcus had been trying to take it. But there was still one mystery. Why had he been so confident? Why did he think he could control everything? The answer came from someone I never expected. Our neighbor, Mrs. Reynolds. She came to my house one evening. I need to tell you something. What? She looked nervous. I've been watching your brother. What do you mean? He has been bringing people to your mother's house. Who? 3 different men. What kind of men? One was a real estate agent. Another was a contractor. The third was a man I didn't recognize. She handed me a photograph. It showed Marcus standing beside a man outside Mom's house. Who is that? I don't know. I took the photograph to the investigator. He recognized the man. He was a private buyer, someone who purchased houses below market value. Marcus had been planning to sell the property, and he had already started negotiations. I felt sick. Mom had nearly lost everything. But then something happened that none of us expected. Marcus disappeared. He stopped answering calls. He didn't come home. The police began looking for him. 2 days later, he called me. Olivia. Where are you? Somewhere safe. Why did you run? I didn't. You disappeared. I needed time. Come home. I can't. Why? Silence. Then he said, because I'm ashamed. I didn't know what to say. He continued. I thought I could fix everything. Fix what? My debt. I froze. What debt? He told me. He owed nearly $90,000. Credit cards. Loans. Gambling. He had been hiding it from everyone. When his debts became impossible to manage, he started using Mom's money. Then he realized the house could solve everything. He planned to sell it. He thought he'd pay back the money later. But the debt kept growing. The lies kept growing. And eventually he couldn't stop. I asked him, why did you file the restraining order? Because you were getting close. To what? The truth. He started crying. I knew if you stayed around Mom, she'd tell you everything. I closed my eyes. You were willing to destroy our family. I know. Why didn't you ask for help? I was embarrassed. I remembered Grandma's words from another part of my childhood. Pride makes people do terrible things. I told Marcus, you need to come home. I can't. You need to face what you did. I'll go to jail. Maybe. Silence. But running won't fix it. He started crying again. I don't want Mom to hate me. She doesn't. How do you know? Because she's your mother? Marcus returned the next day. He confessed. He admitted forging the document. He admitted taking the money. He admitted filing the false restraining order. And he admitted trying to sell the house. The legal consequences were serious. But because Mom wanted him to receive help, rather than simply disappear into the system, the case became complicated. He had to repay the money. He entered financial counseling. He received probation. And he was prohibited from controlling Mom's finances. But the hardest consequence wasn't legal. It was rebuilding trust. Mom didn't let him move back in. Neither did I. For months, he lived in a small apartment. He worked 2 jobs. He paid back every dollar he could. And slowly, he started becoming the brother I remembered. Not perfect, but honest. 1 year later, Mom invited him for Thanksgiving. He arrived early. He stood outside the door for almost 5 minutes before knocking. Mom opened it. He looked nervous. Hi, Mom. She smiled. Come inside. He hugged her. Then he started crying. I watched from the kitchen. Mom looked at me. I smiled. For the first time in a long time, it felt like we were a family again. Not the same family. A different one. One that finally understood boundaries. One that understood that helping someone doesn't mean controlling them. One that understood that sacrifice doesn't give you ownership over another person's life. A few months later, Mom sold the house. Not because Marcus forced her, because she wanted to. She bought a smaller home near me. She said she wanted less maintenance. The old house was sold at full market value. And with part of the money, Mom created a small college fund for her grandchildren. Marcus helped her move. He carried boxes. I packed the kitchen. Mom stood in the empty living room. She looked around. This house held a lot. I nodded. Good and bad. She smiled. Mostly good. Then she turned to Marcus. Are you okay? He nodded. Yes. She looked at both of us. You know what I learned? What? I spent too many years thinking my children needed me to choose between them. She shook her head. I didn't. I hugged her. Marcus joined us, and for a moment everything felt simple. No lawyers. No courtrooms. No lies. Just 3 people standing in an empty house. Later that night, Mom gave me an old photograph. It showed me and Marcus as children. We were sitting on the front porch. I was holding a toy kitchen. Marcus was holding a plastic baseball bat. We were both smiling. On the back, Dad had written, "My 2 greatest responsibilities and my 2 greatest blessings." I cried when I read it. Marcus did too. He said, "I forgot that." What? That we were supposed to be brothers. I looked at him. We still are. He nodded. But I need to earn that again. You do. And that was the truth. Forgiveness didn't erase what he had done. It didn't magically restore trust. It simply gave us the possibility of rebuilding. Slowly, honestly, one day at a time. Today, Mom is 75. She lives in her smaller house. She drives again. She manages her own money. She has her own bank cards, her own passwords, her own decisions, and she loves every minute of her independence. Marcus visits every Sunday. I visit twice a week. Sometimes we all eat dinner together. Sometimes Marcus and I argue. We're siblings. That's what siblings do. But now when we disagree, nobody controls anyone. Nobody hides money. Nobody changes passwords. Nobody speaks for Mom. And Mom always says the same thing. I raised 2 children. I don't need a manager. We laugh every time. But I understand what she means. For a long time, I thought our family had been destroyed by money. It hadn't. Money was only the tool. The real problem was fear. Marcus was afraid of losing his place in the family. Mom was afraid of losing her son. I was afraid of losing my mother. And all 3 of us reacted to those fears differently. Marcus tried to control everything. Mom became silent, and I became determined to fix everything. None of those choices helped. What finally helped was the truth. The truth hurt. It embarrassed us. It forced us into uncomfortable conversations. But it also gave us something the lies never could. A way forward. Sometimes people think family means protecting each other from consequences. I don't believe that anymore. Real family doesn't hide your mistakes. Real family doesn't help you continue hurting yourself. Real family tells you the truth, even when the truth is painful. And sometimes loving someone means saying, I will forgive you, but I will not let you do that to me again. That was the boundary I had to learn. I loved my brother, but I couldn't trust him immediately. I loved my mother, but I couldn't make decisions for her. And I loved my family, but I couldn't sacrifice my peace just to keep everyone comfortable. The morning I found my name on that restraining order, I thought my family was falling apart. I thought my brother hated me. I thought my mother had chosen him. I thought I was about to lose the person who raised me. But what I discovered was something much more complicated. My brother wasn't my enemy. He was a deeply troubled person who had made terrible choices. My mother wasn't weak. She was afraid. And I wasn't responsible for fixing everyone. I only needed to tell the truth. Sometimes that's enough to change everything. And if there's one thing I want anyone listening to this story to remember, it's this. Love someone enough to help them, but never confuse love with control. Because the moment you start believing that someone owes you their freedom because you sacrificed for them, you stop being their protector. You become their prison. My brother learned that lesson. My mother learned that lesson. And I learned it too. We didn't get our old family back. We built a better one. One where nobody had to earn the right to be heard. One where nobody's freedom belonged to someone else. And one where, finally, we understood that being family doesn't mean holding on tighter. Sometimes, it means letting go enough for everyone to breathe.